Zuckerberg couldn't turn down. And for the first time, the world got a glimpse of what Facebook may really be worth.
By the time people were finally getting used to the idea that anyone would pay $1 billion for Facebook, Microsoft comes along and pays $250 million for 1.6% of the company. It was outrageous. It valued the company at $15 billion. This took Facebook from a thing that a lot of people use to a thing that everyone was talking about, the $15 billion company.
But only a month later, Zuckerberg, at the top of his game, stumbles badly.
Zuckerberg's made a lot of mistakes. The next mistake, which was a really big one, was Beacon.
You go to a third-party e-commerce site and you buy something, and unless you tell it not to really quickly, it's going to go back and tell all your friends that you just bought a diamond engagement ring. And obviously, you know, that sort of secret revealing can cause a lot of trouble.
There was the great rallying cry that Facebook ruined Christmas because suddenly everyone's purchases were being broadcast to their entire network.
Nevertheless, Zuckerberg was defiant.
Zuckerberg really tried to defend it for a while. It took him a while to realize how wrong it was.
On December 5th, 2007, he made another full-throated apology. 2 months later, in February 2008, after years of legal maneuvering, the lawsuit over Facebook's origins resurfaced. The Winklevoss twins and Divya Narendra reached a settlement with Zuckerberg for $65 million for their part in creating Facebook. They later changed their minds.
We were appealing because we were misled. The settlement that we had initially signed up for contained both cash and stock in the company, but the stock component was essentially overvalued by Facebook.
We will continue pursuing this until we are adequately compensated for the value we added to Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg considers the matter closed.
Well, when we come back, Facebook's triumph in the global economy and new questions about its future as investors from near and far come courting.
By 2009, Facebook reached over 150 million people. Rumors swirled that the company would go public, but instead took money from a new investor. Yuri Milner, CEO of the Russian internet investment firm Digital Sky Technologies, proposed a $200 million deal for an almost 2% stake in the company.
Deals of that size are kind of never easy. There's a lot of back and forth. This deal was about the vision that we shared, how big this company can get. Everything else was sort of secondary.
Milner's investment allowed Facebook to delay going public and supported its continuing growth. Advertising was the key to keeping it going, and Facebook was in a unique position.
A lot of previous internet marketing models are based on clicks or impressions, that you get paid to either show this ad or get a click one time. And the notion of connections on Facebook is kind of fundamentally different from that, because once you have a connection, it's a long-term relationship with that person.
Jeremy Smith is Chief Strategy Officer for Second Market and deals with assets like Facebook shares that cannot yet be traded on the public market.
What makes Facebook so desirable from the perspective of advertisers is that they are able to accumulate information on their users like nobody else. And the funny thing is, the users don't really view it as data. It's themselves, it's their information, it's their lives that they're putting on there. But as far as advertisers are concerned, it is the holy grail of data.
Facebook denied newspaper reports that it would be selling user data to advertisers, rumors that raised concerns across its network. Mark Rash is former head of the United States Department of Justice Computer Crime Unit and is now a computer security consultant.
It doesn't trouble me that people buy information. This is what Google's business model is. It's what Twitter's business model is going to be, provided that individuals know what they're giving up. You know, you get a free service, Facebook, you don't write them a check every month, but in return for which, they get your personal information. The problem is when you are getting the service for free but don't know what you're giving up and give up more than you want to.
Mark gets in trouble over privacy a lot, and he continues to do it despite several backlashes, for one very simple reason. Despite all these backlashes amongst the media and small subsets of very vocal users, people keep joining Facebook in throngs. People don't quit Facebook over these issues.
In July of 2010, Facebook hit 500 million users, making it the world's most popular website. 2 months later, Zuckerberg made a surprise appearance on Oprah to announce a $100 million donation to public schools in Newark, New Jersey, and the creation of the Startup Education Foundation. The origin of Facebook is now the subject of a major motion picture, The Social Network.
You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount. The rest of my attention is back at the offices of Facebook, where my colleagues and I are doing things that no one in this room, including and especially your clients, are intellectually or creatively capable of doing.
For a site that's able to move from the dorm room to a site where, my 80-year-old mother and myself and my chiropractor and my third grade class all reunites on the site, and we all have something to talk about, and we choose what we need to talk about, whether it's about somebody's birthday or politics or whatever it is, it's an achievement.
He's growing as a person with 1,400 employees, close to 500 million users. He's changing in a lot of ways. He's becoming a more natural leader. He's becoming more confident of his skills.
He's more than a little bit of a rebel. He is like the modern James Dean, this guy. He is an amazingly impactful person who cares not what other people think about him and wants to change the world.
Well, up next, analysts say Facebook will soon be earning nearly $30 billion in ad revenue each year. We're going to tell you how the site is becoming the cornerstone of marketing strategies around the world. Plus, is Facebook really worth $50 billion? Well, we asked you to share your views on Bloomberg's own Facebook page, and those results are coming up next. Well, tonight, people have been going to Bloomberg's Facebook page to express their opinions in a viewer survey. We asked you to tell us if you think Facebook is really worth $50 billion. And it turns out that most of those who responded, 58%, think that Facebook is not worth that much. On the other hand, 22% say that it's worth more than $50 billion, and 20% say that $50 billion is right on the money, so to speak. Well, how does Facebook make its own money and make good on that $50 billion promise? Well, Emily Chang is in San Francisco with more on how Facebook's revenue breaks down. Emily?
Betty, we know Facebook brought in $2 billion in revenue last year, most of it from advertising. Advertisers say Facebook is a necessity in every marketing strategy today. It is a new universe, essentially, where messages travel faster and farther than in any other medium. I spoke to the creative director of one of the largest ad agencies in the world.
It's participatory. And that democratization and customization that exists on Facebook makes people embrace the ideas they like and reject the ideas they don't like. If a brand can become a cultural phenomenon in that space, they're living where a large portion of our consumers' time is spent and lives are lived, actually.
By becoming a fan or clicking that like button, users recommend brands, products, ideas to friends who trust them. Messaging is more targeted, more effective, and that means more bang for advertising bucks. It's estimated Facebook could bring in more than $27 billion in ad revenue in 2015 and more than $5 billion from Facebook credits. That's real money users are spending on virtual goods. Now, what about other revenue opportunities like e-commerce? Well, Facebook's new commerce team is helping retailers turn Facebook pages into stores. Users already spend more time on Facebook than Google. In the future, could Facebook also challenge Amazon or eBay? Here's what one veteran retail expert had to say.
Is it possible for Facebook? I'd say the conditions exist for there to be a shopping interface or more of a one-stop shopping over time. The conditions exist, but it's up to the choices that Facebook makes to maintain the utility and the engagement that the consumers want to have, and also to grow a little bit more.
So, is there any downside? Well, experts say there's always the possibility for a trip and a fall if perhaps Facebook comes overexposed, even irrelevant, like MySpace. If Facebook wants to make good on that $50 billion promise, it has to continue to stay current and stay cool. Betty?
Current and cool. Emily, thank you very much. We are back with our Bloomberg contributing editor, Paul Kodrowski, who's been with us throughout the hour. Also joining us is Scott Galloway. He's from the NYU Stern School of Business and also the founder of L2 Think Tank. Scott, thanks so much for joining us as well. And I want to pull some research because Emily just did a great job of sort of outlining the potential. Generation Y users, right, about more than 80% you have found hop onto Facebook on a daily basis. That is more than double what they use, or what they watch on TV and how they read the newspapers. So looking at that, 2 billion is really quite small.
Yeah, it's really conservative, especially when you think about how much capital brands allocate to television. And then when you look at what's potentially the best thing we have for a crystal ball around where commerce is headed with young, affluent consumers, there's going to be likely a tremendous reallocation of media spend out of traditional broadcast vehicles into Facebook.
How soon? When?
Well, it feels like it's happening right now. I can't think of a brand I haven't met with that isn't planning on increasing their intellectual and financial allocation to Facebook exponentially. I mean, we're talking, some of these companies are talking about 5 and 10-fold increases in the amount of money they're going to be spending on Facebook.
Paul, I mean, in your best estimation, what's stopping them from jumping with all feet in?
Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. It's the old story from the 1980s, right? Is that it's what they've always done is safe. So it was always safe to advertise in newspapers and television, all these sorts of places where they've always been is very, very safe.
Because they know the business model.
They know the business model well. They know the metrics. They know everything else. So the fact that the audiences are moving or at least changing, they've been slow catching up. And so now that they're catching up, you're going to see the money start to move. But it's risky and hasn't felt safe for them. And it's finally, to Scott's point, it finally feels safe. It finally feels like something that feels inevitable and they have to do.
Or safer. Scott, something else that I want to pull out from your research is that you found that among these Generation Y users on Facebook, the top prestige brands, Apple, actually on top of the list, Apple, Coach, Chanel, Burberry, all of these high-end brands. So are these the companies that are going to be sort of the first pioneers to really use Facebook as this sort of transformative advertising space?
Well, it seems to be a self-fulfilling prophecy in that the companies that are doing the best in prestige are signaling innovation. And so a company like Burberry, I think their stock is up 300 or 400% in the last few years, has really embraced the medium, where some of the iconic luxury brands such as Rolex and Prada have not embraced it to the same extent. I would argue that they're going to begin leaking shareholder value to the people who are embracing it, not only because of the physical return, the actual short-term return they get, but it's almost a branding event. When you're seen as part of the cool crowd and you really understand Facebook, people have the self-expressive benefit when they buy your brand of feeling as if they're hurting with a brand that gets it.
Right.
Don't you feel, Scott, I mean, just to jump in for a second, I mean, don't you feel like, I mean, that's part of the issue that Facebook has, is that on one level it is the cool brand, but the risk is just like has happened in the past many times. You have this kind of change and all of a sudden it's no longer the cool brand. Right. And there's no real inherent stickiness that would force people to stay. The social graph moves with me and I move somewhere else. All of a sudden Facebook is MySpace and everything starts to look pretty leaky, right?
Yeah, the question is, though, is Facebook, is it the platform for something cool, and that is it's synonymous with being that you get it around these new emerging platforms and sharing?
Right.
Or does it actually say something about you? So to your point, MySpace, I think, said something negative about a lot of people, and they didn't like associating with it.
All provocative views. But before I leave you guys, though, just give me very quickly the end game from Mark Zuckerberg. What do you think it is?
Oh, I mean, there's no question. Wants to be a standalone company, and eventually will go public. There's no.
Scott.
Oh, I think he gets it. I think by all means he's going to avoid the public markets. I just think I think this new generation of entrepreneurs has figured out a way to have their cake and eat it too.
So you think he's going public? You don't think he's going public?
Not if he can help it.
Scott, thank you very much for stopping by. That was NYU professor Scott Galloway, and also for our Bloomberg contributor Paul Kodrowski with us as well. This has been a Bloomberg Special on Facebook. Thanks for watching. I'm Betty Lou.